All right, welcome to the deep dive. You know how this works. You bring us the sources, and we do the heavy lifting. Really getting down to the nitty gritty and extracting all that juicy, valuable knowledge, so you can be well informed without getting totally bogged down.
It's like, it's a shortcut to understanding, right? We kind of cut through the noise and highlight what really matters.
Exactly. You've been sending in some great stuff, and today we're diving into a transcript you shared from the English 20 Days YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, take a look at that one. Lots of advice on learning English at home. Right? Kind of laid out like a step-by-step guide.
Yeah, really structured.
Yeah.
10 chapters covering everything from the basics, listening, speaking, reading, writing, the core four, to things like vocabulary, confidence building, even some broader learning strategies.
Seems like it aims to be pretty comprehensive.
Definitely. So our mission today, let's dig into this transcript, see what actionable advice we can pull out, those encouraging insights that can help you, the learner, on your English journey, and especially how to make progress from home, which is so important.
Sounds good. So where do we begin?
Well, I think it's fascinating how this video kicks off. Right off the bat, the speaker shares a personal anecdote, and it's something a lot of people can probably relate to.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about when they describe their fear of English.
Yeah, they talk about feeling scared, like genuinely scared when they were younger because they didn't understand, just overwhelmed by this new language. I mean, I'm sure many of you listening have felt that at some point, right?
So absolutely.
Yeah.
Starting with the new language, it can feel so daunting.
Totally. But then they describe this turning point, and it comes from something so simple: listening to English stories every single day.
Really emphasizes consistency, huh?
Absolutely. And over time, what happens? Their understanding grows bit by bit, but perhaps even more importantly, that initial fear starts to fade.
Right, it's like that aha moment, realizing that, hey, comprehension isn't this all or nothing thing. It happens gradually with exposure.
Exactly. And the fear, the anxiety, it can be chipped away just by consistently letting that language wash over you.
Kind of makes you realize the power of just listening, even before you fully understand.
So true. And that segues perfectly into what this video really emphasizes throughout: the power of listening in language acquisition. It's foundational, right? Making it a daily habit, even if you don't catch everything at first, is crucial.
You're laying the groundwork, building that foundation.
Okay, let's break it down. The transcript specifically stresses daily listening. Whether it's stories, songs, news, doesn't really matter. It's about constant exposure. But it goes beyond just picking up new words, right? You're also developing your ear for the natural rhythm, the pronunciation of English.
It's like immersing yourself in the soundscape of the language.
Even if you're learning at home, you're training your ear, your brain, to recognize those patterns.
It's like subconsciously picking up on the nuances.
And it's not just passive listening either. It's about active listening, engaging with the material.
Oh, right. There were some techniques mentioned, weren't there?
Yeah, like focusing your attention, even if you miss some details, just trying to grasp that main idea.
And I remember the transcript emphasized listening to the same content multiple times.
Oh, that's key. First listen, you're getting the gist. Second, third time around, you start noticing more, those finer details.
Peeling back the layers of understanding.
Now, this is where it gets interesting: shadowing. I don't know if everyone's familiar with this technique, but it's where you listen and try to repeat what you hear almost simultaneously, like an echo.
Oh, that sounds tricky.
It is, but so effective. You're not just mimicking sounds, you're engaging your speech production in real time.
So it's not just about understanding, it's also training your mouth to make those sounds.
Exactly. It can help with pronunciation, intonation, even getting that natural flow of English.
So like a physical rehearsal of a language, almost.
I like that, yeah. And another point the video makes is the importance of variety. Don't just stick to one type of content. Mix it up: news reports, interviews, even cartoons.
Makes sense. Different speaking styles, vocabulary levels, even accents.
Which is crucial for real-world communication, right? Because English isn't spoken the same way everywhere.
Right. It's like it's so diverse, you got to be ready for anything.
So true. Now let's talk about speaking, because this transcript has a very encouraging message when it comes to that aspect.
Encouraging how?
Well, it's all about not being afraid to make mistakes. It really stresses that.
Oh, right. Like, don't let the fear of messing up hold you back.
Exactly. Mistakes are inevitable, right? But they're not roadblocks. They're part of the process.
I remember it even says, mistakes are okay. They help you learn.
Such a crucial mindset shift. So many learners get paralyzed by that fear.
So how do you get over that? What does the transcript suggest?
Well, it gives some practical exercises. Some might seem a little strange at first, but they work.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, this is a big one. Talking to yourself. In English, of course.
Talking to yourself. Doesn't sound very social.
I know. But it's a pressure-free environment to practice forming sentences, getting comfortable with the sound of your own voice speaking English. You can describe what you're doing, your plans for the day, anything.
Okay, that makes sense. Like a little self-practice session.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the classic advice to find language partners.
Oh, right. Like actually having conversations.
Yep. Online, through language exchange platforms, or even in-person groups, there's something about that real interactive conversation that's just invaluable.
You get to use the language in a real-world setting, not just in your head.
And you get feedback, you learn from the other person's natural flow. It builds confidence, too.
Speaking of confidence, I think the transcript also mentions speaking slowly and clearly, especially at the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. That's key. Don't worry about speed at first. Clarity is more important.
It's like giving yourself time to think, to articulate properly, to focus on pronunciation.
Right. And you know what else they suggest for improving pronunciation and rhythm? Shadowing.
Oh, right, that technique came up again.
Yeah, this time for speaking. It helps you match the pace, the intonation of native speakers, like you're training your vocal muscles.
So versatile, that technique.
Totally. And another piece of advice I really liked, talk about things you enjoy.
Oh, that's a good one. Make it fun.
It keeps you motivated, plus you naturally learn vocabulary related to your interests. Makes it more relevant.
So instead of forcing yourself to talk about boring stuff, talk about what you love.
Exactly. Now, this one might be a little daunting for some, but the video recommends recording yourself speaking.
Oh, I can see why that might be scary for some people.
It can be, but it's so helpful for self-assessment. You can listen back, pinpoint areas where you hesitate, maybe struggle to find the right words, even notice patterns in your pronunciation.
It gives you that objective perspective on your own speech.
Totally. Building on that, the video also emphasizes the importance of starting to think in English.
Oh, right. Not translating in your head all the time.
Exactly. It's a more advanced stage, but the goal is to bypass that mental translation and process thoughts directly in English.
Makes you more fluent, more spontaneous.
Yeah, less hesitation. The video even suggests little things like labeling items around your house in English, reading signs, just constant exposure.
Keeping English top of mind.
All right, let's move on to reading. The transcript has some good tips here, starting with choosing material that's relatively easy and, importantly, enjoyable.
Oh, that's crucial. Don't make it a chore.
Exactly. They mention things like children's books, books with pictures great for building comprehension without feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, simpler sentence structures, familiar vocabulary, visuals to help you understand.
And here's a specific tip. Read aloud.
Interesting. Why is that important?
It strengthens the connection between the written and spoken word. You're working on pronunciation, getting used to how those words sound. Plus, it aids word retention, engaging both your visual and auditory senses.
You're really immersing yourself in the words.
Right. Now, the classic advice, look up unknown words in a dictionary, is there, of course. But there's an added step. Use those new words in your own sentences.
Oh, right. Don't just passively recognize them, actually use them.
It solidifies understanding, integrates those words into your active vocabulary.
And what about reading the same book multiple times? I remember that was mentioned.
Yeah, might seem odd, but think about it. First time, you're focused on the plot, the big picture. Subsequent readings allow you to notice more subtle nuances, vocabulary you've learned, maybe some grammatical structures you missed before.
So it's about going deeper, not just skimming the surface.
Exactly. They also have some good strategies for avoiding getting bogged down, like try to guess the meaning of a word from context before you grab the dictionary, and don't get hung up on every single unknown word.
Keeps the flow going. Don't lose momentum.
And as with listening, variety is key. Read different types of materials, newspapers, websites, you name it.
Different styles, different vocabulary. It keeps things interesting and challenging.
And they even suggest reading with a friend. Setting goals together makes it more fun, more motivating.
Okay, what about writing? What tips does the transcript offer for that?
Big emphasis on writing something, anything, every day, even just a few sentences. And stick to familiar topics at first.
That consistency really builds the habit, helps you feel more comfortable expressing yourself in writing.
And they suggest starting simple, gradually increasing complexity as you gain confidence.
Breaking it down into manageable steps.
Now, correct spelling and grammar are important, of course, and the transcript recommends those grammar checking tools. Super helpful.
They can catch those little errors, help you learn as you go.
But they're a tool, not a crutch. It's still important to learn the rules yourself, and I love this tip. Keep a dedicated notebook for your daily writing.
Oh, I like that. A physical record of your progress. You can look back and see how far you've come.
Right. And before you even start writing, they recommend making a little plan, organizing your ideas. Makes for clearer, more coherent writing.
Gives it structure, prevents rambling.
They also suggest experimenting with different writing styles. Maybe try writing a story or imitating something you've read.
Learn from the masters, so to speak.
Exactly. And finally, practice real-world tasks, like writing emails or letters. And don't be afraid to ask for feedback.
Yeah, getting another perspective can be so valuable. Helps you see things you might miss yourself.
Okay, vocabulary. Building that word bank is crucial. The advice here, make a conscious effort to learn a few new words every day.
Small, consistent steps. Don't try to cram a whole dictionary at once.
And the key is active use. Don't just memorize definitions, use those words in your own sentences.
Make them a part of your active vocabulary.
The transcript recommends flashcards, of course, but also learning new words from various sources, books, movies, even conversations you hear.
Exposes you to different contexts, helps you understand how words are actually used.
And that point about learning words within their context is so important. Knowing the dictionary definition is one thing, but understanding how a word is used in different situations, that's key.
Yeah, context gives meaning, clarifies those subtle shades of meaning.
The transcript also suggests grouping words by topic helps with retention.
Creates those mental links between related words.
And again, active use is key.
Yeah.
Use those words in your conversations you're writing. Really make them your own.
It's like taking them out for a spin, seeing how they handle in the real world.
They also mention vocabulary learning apps, even making it fun with games and puzzles.
Gamification makes it less like work, more like play.
Absolutely. And don't forget to review, prevents forgetting. Plus, learn synonyms and antonyms, expands your range.
Adds depth and nuance to your language.
Now, last but definitely not least, let's talk about confidence. This is huge.
It's one thing to have the knowledge, but actually using the language confidently is another.
So true. And the video emphasizes the importance of, you guessed it, consistent daily practice, just getting comfortable with speaking.
The more you do it, the less scary it becomes.
Exactly. And again, that reminder to speak slowly, clearly, not be afraid of mistakes. It all comes down to mindset.
Seeing mistakes as opportunities, not failures.
They also recommend learning and practicing common phrases, those go-to phrases that can help you navigate everyday situations.
It's like having a toolbox of ready-to-use expressions.
Yeah.
Makes you feel more prepared.
And here's a great tip. If you don't know the exact word, try explaining it in a different way. Use simpler English.
Don't get stuck. Find a workaround.
Be resourceful. And of course, talking to others, practicing in different situations, that builds confidence too.
Getting out there and using the language in the real world.
And that point about thinking in English, it all ties back to that.
Yeah. Moving beyond translation, processing thoughts directly in English.
Finally, they encourage joining English-speaking groups. And a really important reminder, be patient, be persistent.
Language learning takes time. It's a journey, not a race.
So well said.
Oh.
Okay, let's zoom out. What's the core message here? Consistent, deliberate practice across all 4 skills, listening, speaking, reading, writing is essential.
And having that positive, growth-oriented mindset. Embracing mistakes as part of the process.
These insights, drawn from the resource you gave us, offer a structured, encouraging path for you, our listener, to make real progress.
And the best part, you can do it all from home.
So here's a final thought for you. Thinking about all these different aspects of language learning, the sounds, the rhythms, expressing your thoughts, which one speaks to you the most right now, and what small step can you take today to explore it further?
A little nudge to get you going.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning and keep exploring.